Hello and welcome to the ARCHLine.XP Virtual Expo. I'm really excited to have everyone here today. In today's quick startup webinar, we're going to be talking about how to use DWG underlays, how to model construction elements in 3D, and how to actually situate your design onto site terrain. So just a little bit about me. My name is Hendrik and I'm from Australia. And I'm currently working for CAD International in online marketing, business development, and helping clients with their CAD and BIM workflows. In my spare time, I actually love designing buildings of all shapes and sizes, and I love hearing about our users' unique and wonderful projects. I'm also really passionate about helping clients maximize their CAD workflows. So, what is ARCHLine? ARCHLineXP is a fully fledged CAD BIM software solution that helps you navigate the process from sketch to BIM to construction documents in a very straightforward and simple manner. If you're an existing CAD user, ARCHLineXP will seem highly familiar. And if you're a new CAD user, navigating ARCHLineXP's interface will seem like a breeze compared to other CAD software. Okay, so for today's webinar, we're going to be building up our terrain and our ground floor, and we're going to be locating it onto the terrain. So this is all going to be based on this DWG that we've imported into ARCHLine. Okay, and we're going to create our sections like this so that we can have structurally sound connections. Right, so let's get straight into it. Okay, so as you can see on my screen, I have a DWG underlay here ready to go. Now, this DWG underlay was originally created in ARCHLine. However, you can also create your DWGs in AutoCAD and then you can import it into ARCHLine. So ARCHLine is actually fully compatible with both AutoCAD and other types of files. So if you created that in AutoCAD, you can actually import it into ARCHLine. However, ARCHLine also contains all the 2D drafting tools that you can use to create this sort of DWG. Okay, so the benefit of this being is that ARCHLine actually recognizes all of these DWG layers that were imported from the DWG. Okay, so if you're using an AutoCAD file, this will also work. Okay, so we have a DWG here, and now there's several things we can do with it. Okay, the first thing is that we can go down here to the layer manager and we can hide, quick and unhide and quick hide our different layers. Okay, so if we look over here, if we select building footprint, we can see the building footprint. If we select on the existing building layer, we can see everything associated with that single layer. And if we go to site survey, we can see the DWG underlay of the site survey. Okay, now if we select all of this, we can have them all merged into a single drawing. Okay, now the first thing that we're going to need is the site terrain. So that's the first thing that we're going to work on. So we're just going to go to the layer manager and we're going to select the layer that is associated with all of those elements, and that will be the site survey layer. Okay, and we're just going to go okay. Okay, so we've got a boundary and we've also got some contours. Okay, so now the first thing that we want to do is we're going to select the contours and we're going to create some terrain from that. So for that, we'll go to building and we'll go to terrain. We'll go to create and create by contour lines. And then we'll go select an open chain. We'll zoom in and we'll select the first point and go hide from draw and we'll select this. And ARCHLineXP instantly recognizes the text and the lines and the geometry and the colors and the hatches. Okay, so all of this is fully editable. Oh, as well as the dimensions. Okay, so we're going to go ahead to our second line and we're going to select it. Go hide from draw and just select the dimension. Okay, so do this one as well. Hide from draw, select the height. Okay, we're going to keep doing the same. Hide from draw, select the height. Hide from draw, select the height. Okay, this one, hide from draw. Okay, and quite easily we are actually able to select everything quite quickly, and we'll just go to enter and enter again. So now let's switch to a 3D view. So let's go here and let's just see where this is on the floor plan, and we'll just move it over here. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So if we zoom up, we can see that the terrain is now created. So there's going to be different options of how we can use this terrain. We can put a building pad on top of it. We can define the contours. We can select points. We can essentially switch between all these different modes. So let's have a look at what we can do with this now. Okay, so once we have our terrain, okay, now we'll just go back to the layer walk and we'll go have a look at the other parts of this design. Right now, I think the next thing that we'll do is we'll add in the building footprint. Okay, now this building footprint, sorry, the building pad, this building pad is going to run all along where everything is supposed to be flat. So what we'll do is you can see here there's a RFL level. Okay, now we're going to add a slab into this. Okay, so for the slab, we really don't need anything else besides the actual building. So all we need is this. So we're going to switch to that layer. Now, what's great about ARCHLine is it recognizes everything in that layer. So you can actually create layer combinations over here. And you can actually put all the elements into a single layer so that you can quickly switch between them. And this kind of makes the workflow with DWGs very easy. So we'll go to existing building and I'll go OK. Right, now we'll add a slab. So we'll just add a 100 mil concrete slab. Now if you don't have this, this is part of the Australian template that we just imported this into. And there'll be more information below this video about where to download this template. Okay, but essentially all this is we're just selecting top of structure as a constraint, and then the total thickness we're selecting as 100 mils. So essentially this is just a 100 mil slab. Okay, so I'm just going to go OK. And for this one, I'm just going to select just a rectangle because I want to see how this slab is going to interact with the terrain. So I'll select it like that. And I'm also going to go insert node like that and insert node like that, which is simply just clicking on the line and you can see this menu pop up. So I'll offset this. Okay, so now we've got a slab and we can see how that interacts with the terrain. Now if we go to our 3D view, you can see that this slab actually isn't in the right location. Okay, and the reasoning for that is in ARCHLine you can actually insert an AHD. Okay, so what that means is in the floor plan right here, if you go right click and properties, you can see down here it says building elevation above sea level. So this is really useful, this little menu right here, because you can constrain different things. So you can change something once and that will reflect across your entire design. Okay, so to illustrate this, okay, let's just have a look at that RFL level. So we'll go back to the layer walk and we'll just go. So RFL is 8.886. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to enter that here. So we'll go properties and we'll go 8.886 and we'll go to OK. And we'll make sure that all the layers are selected like this. Okay, and we'll just go to rebuild. Okay, and that's going to instantly adjust. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do is we need to add a building pad. Okay, so that's going to be essentially a cut and fill, and you can sort of define wherever you want it to cut and fill. So you can define your building footprint elevations. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut the building footprint, sorry, the building pad right along here. so let's have a look at how that's gonna, so we'll go back to this layer walk and we'll just switch on existing building and also the terrain and also the site survey. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just go to terrain, then we're going to add a building pad. So go plateau and add, and just click on the terrain, and we need to basically, we can just go rectangle, and we can select the entire area that we need to be turned into a building pad. So we'll select all of this. Okay, now it really depends how far you need your building pad to go, but I think this will do. And then we need to select a height for it. Now, bear in mind, the slab is 100 mils thick, okay, and this RFL, the top of the slab, is 8.886. Okay, so if we minus just 100 from that, it will be 8.786. So that means that this flat part is going to sit beneath the slab. Okay, so if I just go okay, and I'm going to select a inclination angle, and that's just the terrain surrounding it. Okay, so what we got to do now is maybe just put in 60 degrees and see how that looks. Okay, so you can see now we have a building footprint, a building pad, and we'll just go back here. Okay. Now you can always make this a little bit smoother, and you can always go back to the actual plateau and you can modify things. For example, if we modify slope on all sides, you can change this to 89. Okay, and you can see the effect of that. That basically kills off the entire terrain, which is not what we need. And we'll just go modify slope on all sides and we'll go back to 60. Okay. So you can also change individual sides. So if we go, you can modify the contour, you can change the slope on any side, and you can also change the elevation. So you can assign a new elevation. Okay, but I think this will be fine. So that's all good. And what we need to do next is we need to add some walls. Okay, so that's going to be pretty straightforward. So we'll go back to our 2D ground floor and we'll just select existing buildings because this is the only one we want to see at the moment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to wall. Okay, and we're going to go to we'll go to brick veneer, so 250 mil brick veneer. And I'm going to make a copy and just remove the plasterboard because that's not necessarily needed for this example. Okay, so we got the brick veneer, so I'm just going to go right click to properties and I'm just going to remove this plasterboard layer. Okay, and we're going to go modify and activate. Okay, and then we can start placing this. Okay, so we'll just go from right to left. Okay, we'll hit F5 and okay, wrong way around. So we'll go left to right. F5 and we can just hold shift and it'll snap here. If it's not snapping, what we can do is just go down here to snap and grid and we can make sure that snap is enabled and also these ones down here. Okay, now we'll just go ahead and finish this. Okay, and we can just keep adding it and just keep adding it like that. Okay. Okay, now we can see there's something coming up at the bottom. And what's happening is actually the section is refreshing every single time. Okay, so what we can do is we're just gonna hide our sections. So I'm just gonna hide that section and this one as well so that we don't need this to be refreshed every single time. Now, if we go back and we just go right click, create similar, we can just continue what we were doing before. Okay, so now as you can see, it's going to be a lot faster because we're not constantly updating a section. Okay, so that's if you disable, if you just turn the sections off, or you can just disable it in the settings. Okay, so let's just continue this. Okay, oops, not there. From here all the way down to there. Okay, right there. And we'll just go to right there. Okay, so we've got our brick veneer. Now let's just have a look here. Okay, so we've got the brick veneer like this. Okay, now for the construction detail, right, let's just go have a look at our hidden views, and we'll just have a look at this section. Okay, so in the section you can see that this is not properly connected, so this needs to go down by 100 mils. Okay, because we've got a slab that's 100 mils thick. So we need the external brick to actually go down, and then we'll have a 230 mil brick cavity. Okay, and we'll have a foundation underneath that. So we've got to actually change this basement, and we've got to bring it up a little bit because we're going to use this for our foundation. Okay, so we'll go back to the floor plan, right click. Okay, and this basement, we're going to set this to 400 mils. So that's going to be the height of the foundation walls. Okay, and we're just going to change this back to 0. Okay, and we'll just go okay. Right, so now you can see in the section it's updated that. Okay, so we can just hide this section again. So that just goes back to hidden views. All right. Now the next step is to actually make some updates in the walls. Right, now you can see everything has disappeared, and that's because we need to turn on those layers again. So if we turn those back on and just hit rebuild, it's going to regenerate everything. Alright, so we need to make some updates to these walls, okay? So we're going to do that via the styles. So we're going to go here to brick veneer, and I'll just delete this old one. Okay, and we're going to create a new one. Actually, we'll edit this one. Okay, so we'll go to properties, and we're going to edit the individual layers. Right, so you can see there's an exterior side and an interior side. So this is the different layers of your wall. Okay, so we can see there's brick, air, and there's a timber stud. So what we've got to do is we've got to change this one, the base offset, we've got to change that to bottom of the slab, okay, because it's extruding, we need it to extrude all the way down. So we're selecting bottom of structure, and we can just copy this and we can paste this. Okay, so you'll soon see the benefit of being able to use multiple layers in ARCHLine. So we'll go okay, and I'm going to create a new style just to manage this. So just so that we know where we've saved this, we'll just call this bottom of structure, and we'll just add in the extrusion that it's moved down by, and I'll just go okay. Okay, now all we have to do, this is a very simple and straightforward process. You just highlight over everything, select the walls, okay, and then change the style. Okay, so now you can see all those construction details have automatically populated throughout our design. So all we have to do, okay, is we just have to click rebuild, and then everything will be set accordingly. Right, so let's have a look at our sections. So we'll just go back to hidden views, and we'll look at our section. Okay, and let's just have a look here. Okay, so we've got this coming down all the way. Now let's just update our section. So we'll select this one to use, and we'll just kind of move it across a little bit. So we'll move it like that. Okay. Right, so now you can see it's going down all the way. So we've got a proper construction detail actually happening right here. Right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to add the foundation wall. Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward process. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So this one, Yep. Okay, so let's see. We need to create a 230 double brick wall. So I'm going to delete this one and just show you how to create it. Okay, so we'll go to the double brick cavity. We'll go to properties. All these walls are actually available in the Australian template. So you can download that on our website. And like I said, we'll have the details below this video. Okay, okay, so we'll just go edit compound walls, and this one needs to be a 10 mil air gap, okay, like this. And I'm just going to go to OK, and I'm just going to save this as a 230 mil double brick cavity. Okay, and I'm going to make it available. So ARCHLine, you can make this available in this project only or in all projects. So it gives you two options. Okay, and that's a great way to globally save your different building elements. And for this one, I'm just going to click there. Okay, and I'll just go activate and OK. Right, so now we need to switch to our basement level. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a problem now because we can't see where our building is. Okay, and that's because we need to ghost it. Okay, so we're just going to go to ground floor and hit ghost. Okay, now we've got a lot of elements here and we can't really see properly. So what you want to do is you want to just make available the layer that you need. So we need existing building, and that's it. So we can also do load-bearing walls, which is just going to show like this, which is probably easier. So you can switch between any one of those two. I think I'll stick with load-bearing walls. But I'll show you the other way around as well. So we'll go existing building. Okay, now you can actually change the color appearance of this, and you can make it lighter. So let me show you how to do that, because this is essentially a ghost layer. Okay, so if we go down here to settings, how to display visible but inactive levels. Okay, replacement color, you can do halftone, right? And it's going to show like this. You can do let's see, if we do this as color, replacement color, inactive but building. Okay, so this one, we can select this to custom. Let's say like a light blue color like that, just so it's slightly faded. Okay, now you can see your trace layer. Sorry, your trace level, your ghost layer. Now what we can do is we can just go ahead and we can do our what is it, the foundation walls. Okay, so we've got the double brick 230 mil. That's the one that we're going to use. Okay, so we'll just switch from the outside. We'll hit F5 just to change the reference. Okay, and just hit Shift to make sure that we're creating it in a straight line. Okay, and go like this. Okay, and we'll just finish this off. And like that. Okay, now we'll go have a look at the sections. Let's have a look here. So now you can see we've got our foundation walls below. Okay, and I think that looks quite good. So let's have a look in the 3D. Okay, so you can see we've got our foundation walls right there. Okay, running all along the bottom. Okay, and I think that will do. So let's go back and have a look here. So that was a pretty straightforward process. So actually all we need to do now is we need to add a basically a foundation slab below all of this. Okay, and for that we're going to create a slab. So we'll go to slabs and we need a 400 by 400 foundation, and I'll just quickly show you how to create that. Okay, so we've got a 300 mil foundation here, so I'll just go and make a copy. You can essentially do this with any slab. So I'll just rename this 400 by 400 foundation. Okay, and we're going to change some of the properties. So essentially all it is just a slab like this, and this one is the total thickness, which we need to change to 400, and we'll just enter it like that. Go modify and activate. So I'll just hit OK, and we're going to add that to our building. Okay, but before we do that, there's one thing that we quickly need to do, which is make this coarse. Okay, and you'll soon see why. So we'll change this to coarse black. Okay, so we can just see a simple line like that so that we can actually select the center. Okay. Okay, so now we'll just add a foundation. So we're just going to go to slab and we're just going to go to foundation. We'll go 400 mils and we're going to select all along the middle. Okay, now we've added some references so that we can see that it's in the middle. So we'll just hit F5, F5 again, and we'll make sure this is centered. Okay, and we'll just select it along the middle, like that. Okay, and like this. Okay, and like this. And we'll just hit enter. Okay, now you can see there's been a mistake here in what I've actually created. So that can actually be fixed quite easily. So we can just insert a node right like that. Actually, if we go in the 3D, that should work properly. So if we just fix this, we can go insert node and we just move it to there. And we can just delete this. So it's all connected now. So we've got our foundation, and all we need to do now is, you can see there's a 100 mil gap in between. So that's something we will need to fix, okay, and that's very easy to do. The reason for that is each level, okay, it's assuming that there's a slab on each level, a 100 mil slab, which is the preset for this, but we can change this. We simply need to change this from bottom of structure to the top of the structure. So let's go right click on floor plan. Okay, and we'll go to this basement. Okay, and you can see this is 100 mils. All right, so we need to go to the settings of the slab, go to edit, slab layers. Okay, you can see this 400, and we'll just go check here to base offset from the floor. We'll change this to top of structure, and we'll just go okay. Then that's going to automatically update. And we'll have a look at the sections. Right, so you can see you've got a foundation wall and you've got your foundation at the bottom, and you've actually got the you've got your section already prepared. Okay, and you've got the walls sitting on top. Okay, so very simply we can just go back to the top floor and we can just switch this back to fine. Okay, and we can also enable all these layers. Okay, so if we go now to magnify view, okay, and we can just switch back to rebuild. Okay, so we've got a ground floor here ready to go, and you can see if we go down below, we've got all our construction details. Okay, so we've just got a bit lost here, so let's just move back. Right, so essentially this is all we're going to need, and then the rest you just sort of fill in as your design changes. Okay, now the great thing about this, if I want to change all these wall heights, okay, I can just do it in one go. So I can just go to properties, Okay, ground floor, let's say this changes to 2,700. Okay, so I just change that. Okay, and then this updates all the walls. So you can see that's instantly updating everything at once. So this kind of makes it really easy to work with different consultants. And if there's something that changes, you can just update this once into your design. So let's go and update this. Just hit rebuild. And that's going to update everything. Now, the last step of this is that we need to go to, because there's only one level here, but all we need to do is really just fill in the rest of the design, and then we're pretty good to go. So I think the last step here will be to add this carport, okay, and that'll be pretty simple. So let's quickly do that. Okay, so with layer walk, we'll just go to existing building, and we're just going to quickly fill the rest in. So we'll just go slab, 100 mil, rectangle, like that. Okay, and we'll just disable the hatching. Okay, so for the time being, I've actually just gone ahead and created those internal walls, and I filled in the rest of the design. So I've just added some windows and some doors, some internal walls, and finished off this carport based on the DWG, and also added these few retaining walls. Now, we're not going to cover this in this episode because that's quite an easy step to do. And you can find that in a lot of different webinars that's covered in there. So creating walls and doors and windows, that's all covered in a lot of the different webinars. So in this one, there's a few last steps that we'll take to just kind of help us tweak up this representation. Right, so now in the 3D, you can see that there are some lines that I don't want to see on the terrain. So we can actually change between representation styles. So if I right click, I can go 3D representation, and I'll go to settings. So we can go to contour lines, and I'm going to set the contour to every 200 and actually every 500 mil. Okay, so I'll just go okay. And then that's going to update. Okay, so that's going to update on the plan. Sorry, on the 3D, so we won't necessarily need to see all those lines. Okay, now that looks quite clean. So the last thing that I'll do is I'm going to change how this appears on my sections. Okay, so now you can see if I go right click and I go to find material, I can change the representation of this terrain on the sections. So if I double click on this, okay, usually this is ticked. Okay, so I'll show you what that's going to look like. So if I go to my section, which was hidden, so I've just gone and made it unhidden or visible. Okay, now you can see that the terrain has these sorts of hatches, which is not what we want to see. Okay, so that's why in the section properties, you can either change um, the types of hatches, okay, but for the moment being, I'm actually going to just switch these off because we don't necessarily need to see that for our sections at the moment. And I'm just going to hit rebuild. Okay, so now if you go to your section, you can see there's a nice clean section view that you can use for your documentation. And for this, I'm actually just going to switch it to hidden line removal. Okay, so that quite covers it. So we'll open the floor to questions. If you guys have any questions or comments about what we've covered so far, please leave them below. And of course, if you've liked this video, please leave a thumbs up below and subscribe to our channel. And I really hope that you've been enjoying the virtual expo so far. So definitely look out for all the other great webinars. See you next time.